Big story right now, which is a court in Bangladesh has issued a second arrest warrant for former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina on charges of enforced disappearance during her rule, the chief prosecutor said. Dhaka has already issued an arrest warrant for Sheikh Hasina on charges of crimes against humanity in October last year. And as per the chief prosecutor of the Domestic International Crimes Tribunal, a new warrant has now been issued for Hasina and 11 of her aides, which includes her former military advisor, military personnel, and several law enforcement officials under her tenure. Prosecutors said in the petitions that Hasina and her close aides and security agencies were responsible for killing the protesters and others during the violent demonstrations that took place in the summer of 2024. Before we move any further, what does it mean for India-Bangladesh relationship and how does this all add up? Let's first get in this quick update from my colleague Vishal Vivek, who puts things in perspective into what really are the details of this arrest warrant.
4 to 5 months, and as far as the case is concerned, it seems pretty watertight because it's been about 15 to 16 years ever since the reports of disappearances came up. And as far as the reports are concerned, in the last 14 to 15 years, almost 700 people have been, reportedly disappeared by the Hasina government. There were also many cases of extrajudicial killings. Some 900 people have reportedly been killed due to extrajudicial killings. When Hasina was in power, she ruled with an iron fist for a while, and she actually started off in a pretty mellow manner, and then she sort of metamorphosed into a very iron-fisted ruler that resulted in these disappearances and these reported extrajudicial killings. So as far as the case itself is concerned, this is the second arrest warrant against Hasina. The first one was for crimes against humanity, and this one is, as you mentioned, for enforced disappearances, which number above 500 as far as this thing is concerned. So all of that will come into play. Whether or not Hasina will be produced before a court, that is the biggest question that will be answered by both the parties involved, and as the chances of that happening seems pretty dim at the moment.
All right, that was Vishal putting things in perspective. But what are let's now take a look at the big questions that we are now focusing on in this discussion. Before I get our guest viewers, let me now take you through the big questions that we'll be asking. First is, should New Delhi give up Sheikh Hasina? She's been here since the 5th of August violent protest that took place. She's taken asylum, refuge here really. And what are New Delhi's options as far as Sheikh Hasina is concerned? That's question number one. The second question that we are asking is, are Dhaka-Delhi ties only about Sheikh Hasina? There's so much more to the India-Bangladesh relationship. Why is it that Dhaka under the present Yunus government is only and only focusing on Sheikh Hasina? And the third other question that we are asking is, can Bangladesh afford to alienate India? The Bangladeshi army chief and several other officials in the last couple of days have said that, we have a relationship with India. There are several things on which we rely on. Remember, a lot of, in fact, patients come from Bangladesh to India. And apart from that, a whole host of things, rice. So can they really afford to alienate New Delhi and keep harping on the Hasina factor again and again? And will Hasina actually get a fair trial in Dhaka? That's the big question. They've been coming out with arrest warrants. They've been talking again and again about wanting to get Sheikh Hasina. But is she really going to get a fair trial in Bangladesh under an unelected government, which was supposed to be interim and for a short period of time? Let's put that out now to the guests joining me this evening, Manju, Seth, as well as Saleem Samad. Thank you so much for joining me on India Global. And Mr. Samad, let me start with you. Let me give you the opening remarks on this discussion, and let's try and be civil, cordial, and also factual and objective. Mr. Samad, my question to you is the India-Bangladesh relationship about Sheikh Hasina and only about Sheikh Hasina?
Thank you for having me on the show. I am really tired of answering these questions for the last 4 months. That's the Indian media was asking me the same question. And my answer is obviously same. Yes, Hasina, Delhi has not yet officially have stated what is the status of Sheikh Hasina in India. She has not sought an asylum. She is there as a guest. So obviously there are a lot of loopholes or a lot of words that is missing, which links together. So, and officially, Bangladesh has not only sought extradition, But it is equally true that the chief advisor, Dr. Yunus, as well as the foreign advisor, and of course the military chief, all have mentioned clearly that Bangladesh cannot say no to the relationship with India, number one. Number two is the trade and commerce and other connectivity has to be continued. But unfortunately, one of the reasons that has really made a lot of Al Jazeera has day before yesterday made a big story, and also I saw in the Indian media.
Sir, I don't care about Al Jazeera. I don't quote Al Jazeera. I don't read Al Jazeera. I don't care about it.
I also don't quote
Yes.
NDTV, so that's not an issue. First of all, you have to understand that the visa regime has been blocked or stalled or has been banned by India. So India is not giving any visa for the last since 5th August. So that's one of the reasons there is a contention, there is a tension among those who are seeking visa, and obviously those who are going for health checkup and other issues, education, and many business purpose. All of them has been blocked. So that is one reason there is a tension, and obviously India has to say something that when is this visa is going to resume. That's it. Bangladesh has not
you want visas,
visa to the
you
Indian
want
national.
rice, you want access to hospitals. There is a lot of things that Bangladesh needs from India, but all one keeps hearing is Hasina, 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 and some very provocative posturing as well. I take your point, sir. I'm going to give you enough time to respond to all of those questions. Let's take a quick opening comment from Manju Seth as well, which is the first question I asked, that what about New Delhi's options when it comes to Sheikh Hasina? And is she really going to get a fair trial, given what's happening in Bangladesh right now, Ms. Seth?
I think the options for India are there, and we can, very much, because she has been a trusted friend all these years, and we've had a very good relationship with her government. But as I feel that also with all other governments, fairly, whoever has been in power, Delhi has, and Bangladesh have had good, by and large, good relationship. It's never been the way it has descended at this particular time, with the interim government. And I think, when and as you very rightly said, there are other issues which should have been sort of addressed at the same time, but they are only talking about Sheikh Hasina, arrest warrant, and India, and as if the India-Bangladesh ties are only about Sheikh Hasina. They're not only about Sheikh Hasina, absolutely not. They're very wide-ranging, and we've had a good relationship always, but I think the interim government seems to be focusing only on one aspect. And when our foreign secretary went to Bangladesh recently, they did speak about general bilateral relations. It was conveyed to them our concerns about the minorities, our concerns about the way where we are headed. The way the relationship has come to a sort of there's been quite a break in the relationship in some ways. Many of the exchanges that used to take place have been put on hold, and I think they need to understand that both. For us also, Bangladesh is important. For Bangladesh, India is important, and I think making this particular, issue the only factor in the relationship, I think is not leading us. It's not going to take us anywhere, and it's not good for the relationship at all, I feel.
Mr. Samad, respond to that. It's not good for a relationship, especially when governments are trying to repair some of the damage that has been done in the last couple of months, when the student protests led to a lot of attacks on Hindu minorities that continues even now, and a lot of rhetoric and posturing that was very anti-India. In the backdrop of that, if governments want to pick up the pieces, move ahead, try and rebuild some of that, something that our Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri said when he was in Dhaka, how should Bangladesh be responding to those overtures?
First of all, Delhi, the South Bloc possibly has forgotten what Chanakya has mentioned about having a relationship with the region. If Delhi has kept all the eggs in one basket for the last 15 years, what else do you expect? So they have left it with Hasina, and Hasina has left. So all the eggs have been damaged. So now you have nothing else to discuss. So, of course, and one thing is very important, that the relationship has to be bilateral, has to be on both sides. Bangladesh is issuing visa, India is not issuing visa. The trade and commerce has reduced to less than 30%. So that has also been. The transportation, the communication has also been stalled. Nothing is moving. The trains are not moving. The buses are not moving.
Who's
Most
responsible
of the
for
flights
that,
have been
sir?
cancelled. So
Who
that
is
has also has to
responsible?
be done. So
Right.
it is not only
Who's
Bangladesh has to
responsible
do.
for that,
it has
sir?
to be both the countries, Delhi and Dhaka, has to agree to some of the to normalize the relationship.
Exactly. I was going to ask you, how does one go about normalizing relationship? The fact that trade and commerce has dipped so drastically, the fact that normal commute and transportation has taken a hit, in the backdrop of commentary, you know, there are parts of US government, there are sections of them which are going about issuing maps. There are some of them which are saying India did not do anything in the 1971 Liberation War, where 11,000 Indian soldiers laid down their lives. Now, in the backdrop of that, how do you think we can revive trade and commerce? How can we revive the economic ties between the two countries?
Regarding 1971, I mean, you must have know very well that in 1971, the 16th of December, the Bangladesh Mukti Bahini officers had visited India. They went in Calcutta. They were in the, and of course, the Indian officers who had fought in the war, especially on the eastern side, northeast India side. So they were also in Dhaka. So there is nothing to do with 1971. The victory parade has been there, and of course it was also in Kolkata and other places. So this has nothing. 1971 has not been erased.
Mr. Samad, then why has the judges' training been cancelled? The fact that every year India and very regularly MOUs were signed between the two sides where training takes place. India does undertake the expenses also of training of senior judicial resources for Bangladesh. Why has that been cancelled?
But the judiciary, I read in the newspaper that they are supposed to be in India for a training. So I'm not sure that whether they have gone.
Okay.
Or they are still
it's been cancelled
to go to India.
Okay.
But this has not stopped. Again, one thing has to be understood. The visa regime is totally stopped. The visa section in Dhaka and other places is totally blocked.
Okay,
stopped.
let's now
the
get...
gates are blocked.
Fair enough. Let's now give Manju Seth a chance to rebut some of what you've said. Yes, ma'am, you've been wanting to come in.
No, because if you look at what is happening right now, I don't think the visa section is, issuing normal visas, from what I know. But yes, whenever required, I think they are still responding to special requests. I think. I'm not sure. I don't have any, inside information. But normally that is the case when there is some emergency. We do respond, even if the normal visas are sort of have been discontinued, and visa services. And also what Mr. Samad is saying, don't talk of 1971, but I think a lot of people and a lot of comments came in after Sheikh Hasina coming to India that 1971, India had no role. It was the Pakistanis. And now also they're saying it's because of Pakistan that everything is good and we should go back to Pakistan. We should retie. I'm not saying they shouldn't have good ties with Pakistan, but to say that India was not responsible. There were some statements issued saying India was not responsible for helping out Bangladesh get its independence. There's complete kind of negation of that actual of this fact. And I think the Bangladeshis, most of them do understand India's role, but I think when I was posted in Dhaka, also I remember that there was some who denied any India's positive role, and they said that it is the Pakistanis who were with us, and it was India who was attacking us. And I also had read in some of their texts at that time. Yes, it was there. You are laughing now, but it was there.
Propaganda machinery working overtime. Right. I'm afraid I have to end this here. Completely out of time. I'm going to revisit this and I'm going to give both of you a chance to rebut. And I'm sure as things are unraveling right now, we may have more to discuss. Hopefully better things than what the way relationship is going. Thank you so much, Manju, Seth and Saleem Samad. The bottom line, as far as this issue is concerned, is that the Muhammad Yunus government needs to understand that the history of India's long relationship with Sheikh Hasina is based on the shared sacrifices of India and Sheikh Hasina's father, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, which birthed Bangladesh. Coercing India to give up Hasina will only strain ties. India sheltered Dalai Lama after he fled Tibet in 1959 and continues to do so. Yunus's unelected government should not limit the relationship to just Sheikh Hasina and must instead work on other aspects to revive the relationship, which includes trade, commerce and people-to-people ties.